Okay, so let's follow this little pattern. Here it is again. Okay. Um, Now let's look for that again. Okay, the next time we get it, it's right here. Right? Same thing. Except we have some other stuff happening at the same time in the right hand, and now we're in the riff is in the left hand. Let's just call it a riff for a minute. Okay, so this is not necessarily a sequence, not yet, because let's just look at its first note. It starts on D, right? And here it starts on D again. It's an octave down. So whatever, we've seen this before. You play a melody and then you play it again an octave lower or an octave higher, right? That there's nothing special about that. So this is just an octave transposition of the way it first was, right? Nothing fancy. Okay, cool. Here it is again, back in the right hand. Let's hear it. Okay, we hear it again in the right hand. Basically, we've switched hands here. Where is it? It starts on a D, starts on a D here, starts on a D there, right? So now what we have going on so far is we have this little 2-bar riff, and he plays it once, he plays it again an octave lower with some accompaniment in the right hand. He flips hands, plays it again in the right hand, an octave higher. Well, 2 octaves higher than our previous one, but 1 octave higher than the original one, and some more accompaniment, right? Okay, so we've had this riff. It's happened 3 times. Now let's go to here. Okay, what's happening now? Let's listen to 4 bars. Okay, so this might have triggered something in your memory. You might have said, oh, that kind of thing, that sounds very Bach, that sounds very classical, that sounds very almost expected. That's the kind of thing that this kind of music sounds like, right? It's this, let's go from all the way back up here. Right? You could almost like, if you were trying to write a piece in the style of Bach, you would want to do something like that, right? It's so expected almost to do that kind of thing. So what is that kind of thing? Well, let's look at it. So here's that riff again, right? So it starts off like that, but here we have a little other note. But if we follow the scale down, we could say it should have started on C. He changed the first note, but the riff is still the same. Goes up, drops down, jumps back up, and then goes back down, right? So we can kind of assume this starts on C. The pattern starts on C, right? He changed 1 note, no big deal. But it started on D up here, so now we're transposing it, okay? So now we've got this same pattern, but it's down a whole step because we're starting on C, okay? And if we look at even like where it drops down, here it drops down to a C sharp. Here it started on C, but now it drops down to a B, okay? Now let's look at the next one. If we follow the pattern down, you can see again he used a different note to start it, but if we would have kept going down, it would have started on a B, right? B flat, actually. Why B flat? Because B flat's in the key signature. So now we're starting the pattern on B. So up here we were starting it on D, now we're starting it on C, now we're starting it on B, right? Here we have, this is not the pattern, this is different, but this is. What are we starting it on here? If we go down, we're starting it here on F, if we followed the pattern down to where it started originally up there. Okay, so we have a pattern, we have it transposed down a whole step. Here we have it transposed down another whole step to where here it starts on B flat, and here we have it transposed down a 4th, so it starts on F. So this is a sequence, okay? A sequence is the like total super textbook definition of a sequence is a music pattern restated at different pitch levels, okay? So what does that tell us about the piece? for one, this is the snowball rolling thing, right? We've started this sequence going right here, at least for this much. It's going to start rolling downhill. It's just going to start dropping half steps. This one does a bigger drop, but that's okay. Let's just hear that. See, and then it starts going down again. So here it starts on F. Here it starts on E, would be the missing note here. Here it starts on what would be B flat. Here it starts on, well, here we don't have it. This is where it breaks for a bar, which is okay. And then it starts over again on F again. And then it keeps going. We can track this little riff throughout this whole piece, right? Like it's always doing something, right? Here it's changing, here it's changing. We keep modifying this thing. And that's a sequence. A sequence is we have a riff and we start using it over and over, transposing it, modifying it, doing stuff like that to it. Now, earlier when I said a sequence can change how we analyze something, we'll get more into the weeds on that in just a minute. But basically what that means is for this section here, we might call this 1, right? If we're in D minor, right, then we might call this 1. We have F, A, D. So we might call this whole bar 1, and we might call this whole bar 5. Okay, let's just say this is 1, 5. We might say then that these two bars are a 1, 5 sequence that continues to here because there's a leap here. So we might say it continues here. We might give it a different name here. We might say it stops and restarts here. But basically, instead of analyzing these four measures, a more accurate thing might be to say we have a sequence that goes here and it drops down a whole step here, it drops down a whole step here, right? That gives a better picture of what's really happening rather than saying it's a 1, 5 here, it's a 2, 6 here, it's a 3, 7 here. You know, like that's not really a picture of what's really happening. It's this pattern that just keeps moving in chunks. So that is what a sequence is. Cool?